Episode 10. How is this possible? Alright, since you said that you accepted 4 students, bring them here now so that we can verify your claim. Or would you rather just present your face now for us to slap? Looking at the teacher who was first from the bottom, arrogantly betting with the 4 of them, Daryl smirked coldly. Bring the students here? Xavier shook his head. You are all teachers of the logistics branch. It can't be that you don't even know the simplest thing. It is easy to verify whether I recruited 4 students or not. As long as students were to claim ownership of my token, their personal information will automatically appear in the Education Bureau. As long as we verify it with the Education Bureau, the truth would be clear for all to see. After all, the Education Bureau can't possibly be working with me just to lie to you all. After looking at his confident expression and hearing his words, Daryl was taken aback for a moment before turning around to command Carl.
Carl, take a look. I want to see how this fella could still act so smug after that.
Carl Moser was one of the teachers who mocked Xavier previously. Hearing the orders, he turned around and walked out of the logistics branch. The Education Bureau and logistics branch belonged under the administration branch. It didn't take long for Carl to return with a darkened face. How was it? Looking at the expression on his face, Daryl's heart pounded furiously as an ominous premonition loomed in his head. There are 4 students who acknowledge him as their teacher. These are their names and personal information. Carl's face turned strikingly pale. Even now, he still found the fact hard to believe. Were those 4 students blind? Of the many teachers in Englewood Academy, why did they have to choose a teacher who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination? Not to mention, a teacher who didn't know anything.
Let me look at it. Let's make sure that he doesn't find someone disabled or blind who could be expelled at any time to be a student.
Daryl grabbed the name list. The other 2 teachers hurriedly surrounded him. There were quite a few teachers who would recruit some inadequate students to boost the numbers of students they have. These people could be expelled at any time. Even if they were kept in the academy for the time being, they probably wouldn't last more than a few months. In Daryl's opinion, for a person like Xavier, who ranked at the very bottom, even if he successfully managed to recruit students, he could only recruit the worst of the lot, students whom no one wants. Accepting this kind of student just to fill the numbers didn't bring the teacher any pride. It brought shame instead. Looking at the first name on the list, Daryl snorted in disdain.
Rose Ellison. A female. She doesn't sound like anything by her name. She's probably one of the students who scored the worst in the entrance examination.
Englewood Academy was not a place just anyone could enter. If one wished to enroll, they would first have to undergo the entrance examination. Then the students would be ranked based on their results, and those who met the prerequisites would be accepted. Those who scored the first few in the entrance examination were hot targets for the more outstanding teachers. Each of them was famous in this academy, and among them, there didn't seem to be a student called Rose Ellison.
Carl, continue looking on.
Before Daryl could finish his words, he heard the trembling voice of one of the teachers beside him.
Why? Could she be worse than I have described?
With a cold laugh, Daryl continued browsing down the list. With just one look, his eyes narrowed as he read the detailed information on Rose Ellison below her name.
Rank 67 of the entrance examination. Younger sister of Frederick Ellison. An elder's disciple. And the young mistress of one of the 4 great families in Olmec City.
The young mistress of the Ellison family? Frederick Ellison's younger sister? Daryl gasped in astonishment.
There are 4 great families in the Olmec Kingdom, and the Ellison family is one of them. The young mistress of such an esteemed family acknowledged the man who got a 0 for his teacher qualification examination as her teacher. Are you for real? Shouldn't a figure like that go for August Jenkins or Nicholas Baldwin?
Darrell thought to himself. If her family were the ones who induced fear in him, then what caused him to fall into despair was Rose's elder brother, Frederick Ellison. He was enrolled in the academy 2 batches prior, and after his enrollment, he had always scored within the top 10 in the annual comprehensive evaluation. This year, an elder in the academy even set his eyes upon him and accepted him in as his disciple.
If the older brother has that kind of talent, how bad can the younger sister be? Having an influential background, talent, and a good brother, she still chose to acknowledge this man as her teacher? She must be losing her vision to make such a mistake.
Darrell continued thinking. Just as he was staring in disbelief, another teacher exclaimed with a shaky voice, "Look at the ones below."
He probably used up all his luck to be able to admit someone like Rose Ellison. I don't believe he would be capable of getting someone more incredible.
Clenching his teeth, Darrell continued glancing down the list. Suddenly, upon seeing the next name, he felt even sicker, as if he was about to faint.
Sarah Kurtz? Sarah Kurtz, who is 7th in the entrance examination? The daughter of the city lord of Oxus City.
Darrell felt like he could cry. He had just said that he wouldn't believe that Xavier would be able to recruit an even more incredible student. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine he'd find a student like Sarah Kurtz on the list. Not only that, but she was also a popular student whom countless teachers would go crazy for. He had already heard of this Sarah Kurtz before she even enrolled in the academy. She was the daughter of the city lord of Oxus City, and not only had she charmed the entire school, but she was also blessed with great talents. This kind of talent would be competed over by teachers who rank at the top. Why would she acknowledge such trash? Impossible. This was simply impossible. He tried to forcibly suppress his emotions. Glancing downwards, he saw the names Jesse Farley and Seth Klein. The two may not have been very famous, but their rankings were not low in the entrance examinations, scoring within the first 100. Especially Seth Klein, who specialized in the spear. Due to the limitations of the examination, he wasn't able to exert his full strength, causing his ranking to fall behind. If he were allowed to use his spear, he might even be able to get into the top 20. Staring at the names of the 4 on the list over and over again, Darrell and the other teachers felt like they were going mad. This wasn't rational. Suddenly, Darrell howled with a savage expression.
You must have used some kind of deception to get them to acknowledge you. Even though they acknowledged you as their teacher, they don't know who you are. The moment they find out, they will withdraw from your lessons.
What rights did a teacher who scored 0 in the teacher qualification examination have to recruit such outstanding students? He must have used some kind of despicable method which no one knew of. The moments these methods were revealed, these students would abandon him in anger. That was to say, while it was true he had 4 students, these students probably wouldn't follow him for long. It was only a matter of time before they would withdraw from his lessons. Unbothered by the savage-looking quartet, whose minds were blown, Xavier spoke calmly. It isn't your problem whether they withdraw from my lessons or not. The bet that we decided on was whether I have students at this current moment. Now that you all have verified that I have 4 students, shouldn't we be fulfilling the conditions of our bet? All 4 teachers looked solemn. The content of their bet was indeed on whether he had students now, and not what would happen in the future. Going by such, they had lost. However, they were unable to accept the fact that they had lost, and that they would be slapped by the worst teacher in the academy. After a slight hesitation, Darrell smirked coldly, and a ferocious look appeared on his plump face.
Bet? And what would you do about it if we refused?
Carl and the others immediately understood Daryl's intention and sneered. Indeed, even if we go against our words, what can you do? Do you want to beat us up? Or should we put it another way, do you have the ability to? The worst teacher in the academy with the worst cultivation? To be so smug in front of us. More than likely, even if we were to beat you to a bloody pulp, no one would come to stop us.
Stop acting cool, and perhaps you could stay in the academy a little longer. Otherwise, it wouldn't take long for you to be kicked out and be shamed.
Not only did Xavier fare the worst in the teacher qualification examination, but his cultivation was also subpar among all the teachers. Even if he wasn't the very worst, he wasn't far from it. That's precisely the reason why he didn't have the eye to discern the problems in the trainings of his students. Naturally, Daryl and the rest wouldn't be willing to be slapped. Since Xavier didn't possess the strength to enforce the agreement, they knew they could get away with going against their words. But Xavier wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled at them. Oh, that is to say, you all don't intend to follow the rules of the bet?
That's right. Just who do you think you are? To think that you would consider slapping me? Why, I ought to slap you to your death right now.
Seeing how Xavier didn't back out and continued acting so smugly, Carl was provoked and immediately sent a slap towards him. Even before the slap reached him, the pressure from the wind caused him to experience shortness of breath. Although Carl was only a teacher of the logistics branch, his cultivation wasn't low. He had already reached the level of a fighter level 4 advanced. There were 9 levels to a fighter, ranging from 1, Yieldling, to level 9, Glory. Another new world appeared with every level. The higher you climbed, the harder it was for you to progress. At every level, there were 4 tiers: primary, intermediate, advanced, and pinnacle. Xavier was the youngest teacher in the entire academy, being just 19. His cultivation was only at level 3 Gleam Pinnacle. While Carl was just 1 level higher than him, the difference between each level was very great and almost couldn't be overcome. Just when everyone thought that Carl would strike Xavier's face, a sudden crisp sound echoed. Everyone saw a red mark on Carl's face as fresh blood spurted out of him, some of his teeth falling to the floor.
How is this possible?
Everyone stood dumbfounded, unable to move or react out of shock.